Originally.
This is his first year.
Dallas last year was the first year of the deal.
Oh, they ate his contract. They took his contract. Okay. And gave up Josh Richardson.
I mean, I get that one too.
I mean, I think I'm not like Captain Hindsight here, but when I saw that trade, I immediately was excited. I've always been a big Seth Curry guy.
That was a pretty big Josh Richardson stand too. He disappeared.
Yeah. Alan Anderson not playing tonight, but love this show.
Smart man. Are the mics hot, Jordan? Yeah? Okay, well then everybody, I don't know. I think everybody should be going to check out the breakfast menu when that drops later today. First real legitimate opportunity to check it out. 3 betting picks for myself and Ben Raza. I'm just saying this out loud to the two of you. Mics might not be hot. I don't know.
Oh, they are, though. Everyone should check that out for sure. Got the new Awesemo Fantasy Football channel as well.
There you go.
Pumping out quality fantasy football videos. Putting in that work.
Alan Alexander letting you know that you're not saying his name correctly. Last name's not Anderson.
Well. I mean, that's not even a mispronunciation. That's just a complete inability to read.
Yeah. Kid can't even read.
Well, from now on, you're Alan Alexander. I mean, Anderson.
Andy Anderson.
We're coming in cold, baby.
Oh, I'm hot, man. I'm hot. I've already done 3 videos today.
Man, I was pissed off on Sunday night. So was my wife, because it was Father's Day, and I kind of took advantage of that. Then had a live before lock show, and was feeling pretty good. Afterwards, continued the marathon, and ended up inviting some of the neighbors over to watch the second half of the game out back. Not the greatest idea. But boy, what an absolute disaster of a performance that was from the Sixers, and more importantly, from Ben Simmons. I'll tell you, man, you're a smart guy and all, but there's just absolutely no way at this point that you can sit here and defend Ben Simmons. I'm Dave Loughran on the Twitter at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D. I know a lot of you guys had an enjoyable time hanging out with me on Twitter Sunday night. Look, at least it softens the blow a little bit because we can commiserate together. Some of you can talk shit. It doesn't matter. None of it affects me. I enjoy it, as a matter of fact. I live for it. So does Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman on the Twitters. He embraces the hate as well, but also the love. And we appreciate all you guys being back with us for yet another edition of the NBA Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. What's cracking, brother?
Not too much, man. I'm feeling good. Yesterday, it was oddly nice to not have a basketball game at night. I don't want it to ever go away, but every once in a while when you sprinkle that in, it's sort of knowing that you could just step away and have a night, refresh the batteries. And now we're going to go every single day, one of these Western Conference or Eastern Conference Finals games constantly. I'm pumped now. I'm rejuvenated, ready to watch basketball tonight, ready to talk basketball today. I have 5 separate pieces of content that got recorded today. I'm in, man. I'm fully in. Big Tuesday.
Right. Love it. You got the contenders too? You still do contenders?
Well, 2 contenders videos. The breakfast menu with Ben Raza. Gotta love it. PGA contenders with Ben as well. Tons of betting content. This strategy show. And then live before lock tonight.
Not going to lie, dude. I know live before locks aren't really your thing. I've never been huge on them either because I've been doing the deeper dive. But you and I get to rock some live before locks to close out the season together. That's going to be pretty fun.
I just now remembered that it's you and me and that I'm not responsible for preparing that run sheet. So I'm even more interested in live before lock tonight. I'm going to have a cocktail or 2. It's half price oyster night where we're going for dinner tonight before I show up. So I'm going to have a ton of oysters in my belly, maybe a cocktail or 2. It'll be a good time.
Good stuff, man. And hey, where is it? Brandon Maring. Damn, Laffy looking sharp as hell. Appreciate you, bro. Been getting a little bit of sun lately, Josh. Hanging outside. You know what sometimes I do? I'll even take some work calls sitting outside. Soak up the rays. Get me some vitamin D. Why not, right? It's been nice out.
I do my best to avoid those calls as much as possible now. So it's good. I don't have to take as many as I used to, which is very nice for me because I don't feel like I bring a lot to the table in those calls.
Are you like Adam, where you just are essentially afraid of the sun and do not leave your residence? Or are you someone that can actually appreciate being outside? Because I love being outside in this weather.
Okay, so my weather is kind of awful sometimes. The humidity here gets pretty ridiculous. So we're doing like that 110 degrees
so let's talk about some nice
type stuff. Yeah, no, I like being outside. I do a lot of cleaning the pool. So that's my outdoor area for outside. But I got a really nice backyard. It's a great time to be out in the yard just hanging out.
You have a bigger yard than I do, but Adam disagreed with me when I said mowing the lawn for me is cathartic. Like I actually enjoy it. Now, I think there's a lot of people that would actually agree with me on that, doing certain things like certain yard work, not big on weeding, did that the other day, but just mowing the lawn, I enjoy it, rip the shirt off, get this, just to scare people walking by and get a good day out of it, man. I enjoy it, but I'll tell you what, I don't know if you get those cicadas around you, those 17-year cicadas, right? Those brood X cicadas. They're kamikazes, like World War II kamikaze cicadas. I'm not joking, dude. I'm outside mowing the lawn and they start dive bombing at my head. Most bugs avoid you, right? Like wasps and bees, they avoid you. These fuckers are flying at me. So then I sit down afterwards. Mind you, the whole time I'm going like this. I got the string trimmer blowing them to pieces out of the air. I look like an absolute madman, like I'm straight out of The Shining. So then I sit down. I feel something in the crotchal region, right? Not a word, but you know what I'm saying. And I'm like, what is that? So I put my hand down there and I feel this huge bump and I'm like, dear God. I get up and I start.
You've never put your hand in your crotch and felt a huge bump in your life.
Start flicking at my Johnson to get whatever it is out of there. A dead cicada falls out of my shorts straight onto my patio. Bro, these things are awful. And my brother-in-law said the same thing. He's like, he's got a huge yard. And he's like, I spent half the damn day swatting cicadas away from my head. And they got those nasty, beady orange eyes that look up at you. So glad they're dying off after living for 4 weeks, after sleeping for 17 years. What a waste that is.
Oh, sounds amazing. I'd give anything to be able to do that. But no, I did enjoy cutting the grass because it's a great time to just put a podcast on and get like 45 minutes of whatever you need to listen to. I do not do that any longer. That is not a part of my repertoire. I would ruin my home if I had to cut my grass. So I don't have that any longer. The lawnmower just sits in the shed and doesn't move. It hasn't moved for over a year.
Yeah. But you can understand it. You can appreciate that.
Yeah. I could do my backyard if I wanted to, but I like it. It would look like garbage.
Tony said ball smell killed the little guy. Someone else said that as well. And it wasn't my wife. The reason Adam has no appreciation for it is because the only lawns he's ever mowed, and this isn't an insult, but like is his parents' house. And nobody wants to mow the lawn at their parents' house, right? Like that's a chore. When it's your own house and you see those beautiful lines and you trim it and everything looks good. I just got sod put in. That is a very good feeling.
Oh, when it looks good, you feel really good. What feels even better is when you have no hand in it and it still looks good.
Yeah, that's fair. Aaron says cicadas aren't that bad. Listen, I'm not talking about your every year cicadas. These 17-year cicadas are no joke. Like they're headhunters. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, we're happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. I know most of you that are here today, this morning, are the ride or die Awesemo guys and girls. But if you forgot, we won't hold it against you. Hammer that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. It helps us massively with the YouTube algorithm, helps us keep putting out good content, hopefully keep making better, more bigger improvements along the way. Like, dude, go back and look at these shows from even 13 months ago, right? We didn't even start getting any production value until COVID hit. It's almost a silver lining, right? Like we weren't doing anything.
I produced a lot of the content that existed in the first 18 months of this. There was only so much you could actually do at the time. It was just a lot of moving parts. To do both things was really difficult. To have Jordan and Tyler and Chris on the back end now makes lives a lot easier. And it allows us to do like cooler stuff. You don't have to be doing two things at once, which is really hard.
It is. So hit that subscribe, thumbs up. And if you want to join the channel here, right here on YouTube, hit that join button, become part of the family, get the badges, the emojis. We'll always try and answer your questions first. And I don't know how to say that name. Natnil says, bro, looks like Robin Thicke. Look, I've had much worse comparisons. One, Davis Bertens specifically. I was at my daughter's communion the other week, and someone said I looked like Alan Thicke. So maybe there's something here. But yeah, I'll be Robin Thicke if I can do that video. Shit, yeah. You remember that video?
Yeah, I'd be Robin Thicke too. I bet he does well for himself.
I think so too. Yeah, Thicke, but not Robin. All right, so we've got one game. But first, and I know a lot of you tweeted at us like, dude, will you just do a show on Monday? I was in no condition to do a show, but even though there wasn't a game, the 76ers at this point, right? We have to get this out of the way, right? And then we'll break down.
Everybody knows. There's nobody here is the first time viewer, and if you are, buckle up.
Okay, fair enough. And hey, other thing, it's late June. And if you're wondering why we're still doing basketball content and Josh and I haven't flipped to baseball yet, $105,000 up top on DraftKings tonight. Like $105,000 first place. The tournament is a $555,000 tournament. It's crazy. And they got a Millie Maker coming up for the finals. So
and you and I don't know anything about baseball right now. So that's also a pretty good reason to keep us away from baseball.
I know DFS baseball, and once I actually look into it and get into it, same with you, I'll be golden. But as far as like jumping into it right now, no way, not a chance.
You said you were listening to one of our shows and you didn't know who 5 of the players were.
It's like 10 minutes into it.
I would know less than that.
Yeah, listen, things change quick. Now, I'm good at cramming. There's no doubt about it. You just can dive right into it. But yeah, it's definitely still basketball season right here. $100,000 up top on FanDuel as well, between the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns tonight, who hold a 1-game lead over the LA Clippers. But man, 76ers, the one silver lining for me is that Daryl Morey just blows this thing up. Now, I'm sure you guys wish I was as pissed as I was the other day, because boy, was I pissed. I mean, I sent a tweet out that said, trade Ben Simmons or send him to the fucking moon. And I look back on it the next morning. I was like, maybe I wouldn't have sent that sober, but at that point, it really didn't matter, Josh. I was so fired up, and I just want to hear, and I think everyone watching right now wants to hear if you are still capable of being intellectually honest here and still defending Ben Simmons after what we've seen over the last 3 games. The floor is yours.
Okay. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. That 5-man unit played the second most minutes of any 5-man unit this year in the regular season. They were plus 16 per 100 possessions while those 5 guys were on the floor. I don't think that we're talking enough about the fact that Danny Green not being there was a problem. 4 shooters around Ben Simmons is helpful. I don't think this is a skill thing any longer. He has like a legitimate, and by he, I mean Ben Simmons. This is a mental issue.
Yeah, I've been saying that forever. Dude, he passed up that dunk and passed it to George Hill, who was in traffic.
Like, nothing has changed about my thought process of Ben Simmons' skill set. He has a mental barrier that he has to get over. He's still a first-team all-defense type player. There is a mechanism where he is good on the floor, but if he's so terrified, what looked like wide open dunk, just because he might get fouled and have to shoot free throws, the issue now is way bigger than just like the fit. The fit is, in theory, fine. They know what they need to do. They can get shooting around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I don't think that combination is a problem. Ben Simmons' mental fortitude no longer exists. I don't know what you do to fix that.
But here's the thing. I don't disagree that it's a mental issue, but it's never not been there. You can't continue going down this path operating under the assumption that it's going to get better. And I felt like he was just trolling all of us yesterday when he said he wouldn't play for the Australian national team or in the Olympics, right? Because he wanted to work on skill development this offseason. Where was skill development last year or the season before? We can't look at this past season, right? As this, we can't look at this and be like, well, you know, he's never really struggled as a shooter or a scorer, or you know, he's never really struggled from the free throw line. This is just fluky. Sure, he wasn't a 29% free throw shooter in the regular season, but teams aren't hacking him in the regular season. They didn't have to worry about him. The problem with someone like Ben is his skill set does not translate from the regular season to the postseason. And you know really who the closest comparison to him is right now? You might laugh at me, but in a way, there are many, many comparisons outside of ball handling. Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert becomes almost to some extent a liability against certain teams in the postseason. And Ben Simmons right now, if you watched his game, I would have rather had Tyrese Maxey out there on many stretches of that game than Ben Simmons. It sounds crazy, right? Because Ben Simmons is a great defensive player and all of that. Understood. You know, Trae Young had an awful game shooting, but there is a real issue, a real issue with a guy that is 6'11", that's afraid to dunk with a clear path to the rim, that's afraid to get fouled, that has never once. And again, everybody that says, well, you can't worry about the fact that he doesn't shoot or that he doesn't score because he affects the game in so many different ways. Well, no. Yes and no. In one hand, yeah, in the regular season, sure. They finished as the 1 seed this year. I said it over a month ago. They hadn't beat a single good team all year long, maybe one or two, right? Like that's it. I think they beat the Lakers one game and one other. They had a super easy schedule towards the end. The Nets were dealing with a lot of injuries. The Bucks weren't themselves. They finished as the 1 seed, and good for them because they should have had an easier path to the Eastern Conference Finals. But they weren't the best team in the conference. And Tobias Harris is not a max player. Ben Simmons is probably also, actually, he's not a max player. I think you have to, at some point, differentiate between the regular season play, Josh, and the postseason play, because now it's been several years in a row where Ben Simmons has been, if you don't want to call him a liability, that's fine, but an afterthought at times in the postseason, and his inability to get any offensive production is an issue. And one more thing, when it comes to his passing, okay, yeah, he can get assists, but driving into the lane and kicking it out, yeah, okay, they're going to collapse on you, but they stop doing that when they know you're not going to shoot. So when you just bring it up past the three-point line and hand it off behind your back and get an assist for that, anybody else can do that too. So I just thought the entire series was awful. I think he attempted 5 total shots in the fourth quarter over 7 games. It's inexcusable stuff. It really is.
He attempted less than Dwight Howard did in the fourth quarters of games.
And Dwight Howard averaged what, like 2 minutes in the fourth quarter per game or something crazy?
I have no idea. I don't know what the answer is when it's not a skill problem. It's to me 100% mental. If Ben Simmons has no qualms with shooting a free throw, everything else changes on the floor. Like, you're not mad about the way that he's playing. It's his like complete and utter fear of having to go to the line. He can obviously get to the rim. Like, he can do the things that he needs to do. But if the end game is him ending up on the line, like, you can see he is terrified to do it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you break that, because I have no reason to suspect that he's not still really good. But if he needs to go see like a sports psychologist or something, I don't know how you evaluate that. I don't know how you trade him. I don't know how you trade for him. But I still think he's really, really good. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. It's not a like, this guy needs to stop doing this or that. No, he just needs to play the way that he always plays, generally speaking.
Is he mentally weak? Mentally weak as an NBA player where you can't be mentally weak?
I don't know. I guess he has to be, right?
I honestly, he's had so many years. I look at Joel Embiid. Let's do a little compare and contrast here, okay? I look at Joel Embiid, who had many issues, and I know that he turned the ball over a lot in the last 2 games. But you would like, I have such a hard time. Blame what?
He was doing everything. He's
exactly.
going to turn the ball over because he has to have the ball every second.
Exactly. I have such a hard time blaming him when he knows there's no alternatives. Like, you can't get the ball to Ben. You can get it to Seth, sure, but Tobias Harris is bricking shots up left and right. It's very hard to blame him for that. Joel Embiid was a guy that would turn the ball over out of double teams on every possession before. And you go back, watch any strategy show the past 3 years. I hated that. He fixed that. Joel Embiid's conditioning was an issue. He fixed that. You can talk about him cooling off down the fourth quarter of games, but the guy had a torn meniscus. So I'll give him a pass until next year. He had an issue with not being able to make any threes. Is he an elite 3-point shooter? No, but when he shoots them now, I don't immediately assume they're not going to go in. He came into the league as an okay free throw shooter. Now he's one of the best free throw shooters as a big in the entire league. The guy has spent so much time working on his game and improving his game to become the best that he can. I can't imagine him looking at Ben and not saying or thinking, why don't you do any of this? Like, any of this. I'm over here busting my ass for the city of Philly. He had a great tweet put out there, made me love him even more. I'm sure you guys saw that. You have to think that he looks at Ben Simmons and his post-game conference interview is any indication, he wasn't happy with Ben passing that shot up either. And I'm not sure he wants to play with him next year. And I'm not sure Daryl Morey's going to keep him in Philly. The saddest part is Ben, of course, is that the Sixers one, non-starter for the Harden trade was Ben Simmons. Man, imagine if they had just unloaded Ben and had a little bit of foresight here and Harden came to Philly. That Harden and Joel Embiid with Seth Curry out there and even Tobias would be an absolutely destructive squad.
Luckily for Tobias Harris, he's going to get off mostly scot-free for just being abysmal as of late, because Ben Simmons is going to take all of the heat for this. I agree.
Tobias had some really awful games.
He was missing shots in the restricted area. That was ugly.
He missed some layups too.
Let's say that Ben Simmons doesn't mind missing free throws. If he was just a 40% free throw shooter, but he was still being aggressive on offense, I think they still win the series.
They do. Oh my God. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And no, I don't think that anybody's mad if he's missing free throws, but if it's his, they were playing 5-on-4 offensively for most of these games. He just floats around to nowhere. Wherever the ball is, he's somewhere else. Yeah. And that to me is I don't know what the disconnect is there. I can't defend it. I don't want to knock it because it's not a basketball thing any longer. It's not like he's not getting better at something. He is fully unable to want to go to the free throw line and does everything in his power to not have to go there. And I don't know what the fix for something like that is, because when it's right, if he's attacking aggressively and he has no qualms going to the line, I want Ben Simmons on my basketball team 100%.
For sure. I would have rather had Aaron Gordon all series in place of Ben Simmons.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? That's crazy though. Because Aaron Gordon's not a bad defender. I'm not saying he's first team all defense, but he's not a liability, number one. He's actually a good facilitator. I remember when Aaron Gordon was, and so do you, Aaron Gordon was the de facto point guard in Orlando for like a month or so there, remember? And it kind of worked. Worked.
Well, I mean, it worked as much as it could for Orlando.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to win a finals, but I'm saying it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, Yeah. And Aaron Gordon is at least not afraid to shoot when he gets the opportunity. I would have rather had Aaron Gordon than Ben Simmons. Think about that. That's crazy.
Dude, you could pick anybody. I would have rather had Isaiah Joe out there than Ben Simmons with the way that this was going. I would rather have Aaron Carter.
So you've turned the corner. And
no, I haven't. I want him to succeed more than anything right now. I just don't know how you do it.
No,
right,
but so you've turned the corner.
Where is Ben Simmons? Where is Ben Simmons next year when the season starts?
I don't know. I'd take D'Angelo Russell over Ben Simmons right now.
That's one that I've heard being bandied about.
Yeah, well, that's the only reason I say it is because so many people are mentioning it, and you asked where he would go. I honestly would. I'll sacrifice that defense. You know why? Because they still gave up a ton of points in some of those games with Ben Simmons out there. Defense is huge. Defense is important. There's no doubt. But hey, the Utah Jazz have a decent enough defense. They're out. The Lakers had an elite defense. They're out. I would take would I love getting D'Angelo Russell over Simmons? No, especially given that last year you could have gotten so much more for Simmons, so much more, right?
Yeah. I think it's more likely that we see Tobias Harris move than Ben Simmons this offseason.
You have to give Daryl Morey some credit. This isn't the same organization or front office as we've seen in the past. I'll place my faith in Morey for sure. I think he makes the right moves here. I think he made some great moves in the offseason. I blame Morey for none of this. I know he didn't want to trade Simmons. Okay, fine. But like he took a team that was first round exit, 6th seed last year, not blew them up, but unloaded some awful contracts, some bad aging players, and brought on some guys without making a huge splash that made a big difference. So the Sixers suck, Josh. And I'm here to say it. I was pissed. I was frustrated, but I wasn't surprised.
I mean, after games 1 through 6, I stopped being surprised by what happened. I was surprised that they didn't beat the Hawks. I expect the Bucks to absolutely bend them over and give them a spanking here. So,
I was surprised. Yeah, but I'm saying game 7, I wasn't surprised. That's what I meant.
No, not so much. No.
When you blow an 18 and then a 26-point lead, one of them being at home, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. And it's shameful is what it is. Anyway, hit that thumbs up and subscribe, guys, if you're coming in right now. And be sure to check out our sponsor, No House Advantage. Josh and I talk about this all the time, but it's just like an absolutely ideal spot to build your bankroll and to win money and to get $20 when you sign up and deposit for the first time using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. So many reasons to play over there. It's peer-to-peer player prop platform. So just as you would in other tournaments where you've got salary caps and players with salaries, you have tournaments, you have lineups, but instead of the salaries and salary caps, you have player props, which this is what makes it great. You put the ones you like the most, you have the most confidence in at the top of the lineup. The ones that you don't like as much, you're not as confident at the bottom. They get the fewest points if they win, and you really lose you don't risk as much if they lose. On the contrary, the ones you love at the top get the most points, but if you lose that one, not great. Either way, very cool format, but we have free tools over at Awesemo. Every day they're free, not just today. The Awesemo No House Advantage player prop tool, which takes all of their player props, give you our player prop projections, and the optimal lineups tool. Take advantage of these. Use these. Not everyone playing at No House Advantage knows about these tools. Just straight facts. It's a huge way to get an advantage. And Josh, as we always say, static props every single day. They do not change no matter how much they change on every other book. What a huge advantage that is. And you can't give people too much credit. Not everyone knows that.
No, I have one more thing to add for this. Obviously, everything that you just said was true. Boy, do I got a little bit of a bonus for you. You mentioned that you get $20 instant match deposit bonus when signing up using the promo code Awesemo. Au contraire, $50 today only for new users. Instant match deposit bonus. So if you sign up at No House Advantage using the promo code Awesemo, it's not just $20, it's $50 in No House Advantage bucks. They need a nickname like YSRPs or whatever the other one was that we had a gimmick for that I can't remember any longer.
That's what it was.
Sorry, we won't promote them. Boo.
We're not promoting them. I'm just telling you what it was. But yeah, good catch. I missed that one. That's huge. Okay, so yeah, it's $50 with the promo code Awesemo. And what? Okay, it expires at 9:00 once it locks.
Yep.
Well, take advantage of that. Take advantage of the free tools. Take advantage of the fact that you can really build a bankroll here. Even if you want to take some of it elsewhere, chase those big cash prizes afterwards. It's a great place to play. No House Advantage. Download it on the App Store, Google Play Store. Go to nohouseadvantage.com. Whichever you want, they got you. All right, so we've got the Clippers. We've got the Suns. The LA Clippers. I'm going to sneeze here. Oh, man, couldn't get the mute. Couldn't get to the mute button.
Maybe if you hit the mute button when you told me you were going to sneeze, you'd have been fine.
I tried, but I mean, the eyes go back. You know, it's tough at that point. You're along for the ride. The Clippers, 5-point dogs, 224 total here, Josh. 5.5 points in some spots. They lost game 1. They don't have Kawhi Leonard, but the Suns deserve some credit too, because they didn't have Chris Paul in that game. And that surprised me that not that they won, but Chris Paul is an anchor on this team. It surprised me until I looked, because it was Father's Day. This is a game I actually didn't watch. It surprised me until I saw Devin Booker's line.
What do you mean?
Like, it surprised me that they won by, what was it, 8 or 9 points without Chris Paul until I saw what Devin Booker did in the game. And then I said,
gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now I see.
I was hearing that the reverse way. I was like, you looked at Devin Booker's line and you couldn't understand why they won.
No. I looked at Devin.
He absolutely nuked them.
They won by 6, by the way. But yeah, 40, 13, and 11 across 44 minutes. Oh, hey, and one more thing. Oh, you guys are going to kill me for this. I got to go back for a second. The fact that Doc Rivers played 10 guys in his rotation, Josh. I couldn't forget about this. He ran a 10-man rotation in a game 7. In a game 7, he ran 10 players. Thibault, 20 minutes. Hill, 21 minutes. Maxey, 15 minutes. Howard, 7 minutes. Shake Milton got 5 minutes. What was that?
By the way, Shake Milton got 5 minutes in the fourth quarter after not having played earlier in the game.
Oh, you got
I'm going to talk about Doc Rivers, but here's why I'm going to talk about Doc Rivers, man. You can't get over it. I love it.
Doc Rivers is the most overrated coach. I was so mad when they hired him, and I'm not any happier now. So I just had to point that out, man. Like, 10-man rotation when the bench, you already know this bench stinks. And I don't want to hear Seth Curry was in foul trouble. I don't care. It's just terrible. Terrible, Kenny.
That wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
What was it?
Your tour.
Oh, my Chuck.
It wasn't a bad Barkley. Not too bad.
Just terrible, Kenny. All right.
We are 30 minutes in. Are we ready to talk about today's slate?
Let's do it. I just had to get that off my chest. You know, this is probably the final Sixers talk we have of the season.
I don't know, man. I'm sure we'll get into it during some baseball show together.
And Daryl Morey has a press conference in 30 minutes too.
Probably stepping down.
No way. He better not. If he does, I'm gonna go live. I'm just gonna do some random live stream, and yeah. All right, so let's dive into this then. Clippers 5.5-point dogs. I think that's reasonable. I mean, the Suns are a good team right now, but we do know that Kawhi Leonard remains out for this one. I guess they're just going to keep ruling him out game by game without giving us any information. Chris Paul also sidelined on the other side of this. So tit for tat, I suppose, Josh. He's out with COVID-19. Was he did we ever find out? Was he vaxxed?
He was.
Yeah. Well, that's very unfortunate.
Oh, I think it's very fortunate. My expectation is that he comes back with no real issues.
Well, yeah, I'm saying it's unfortunate that you're still you're vaccinated and you still get COVID going into the conference finals.
I mean, it's not ideal.
Is it fortunate that he got COVID vaccinated and is missing games?
Well, it's fortunate that he is vaccinated to lessen the symptoms for himself, because if he comes back, not a lot of gas in the tank, that's not ideal.
True. He probably would have been asymptomatic anyway, man. These are just like stone cold machines of men.
Yeah, tell that to Jason Tatum.
Not everybody, but like the large majority of professional athletes have been pretty much unaffected by it.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not downplaying it. I'm just saying people that are this is factual. People that are in good shape, like, right, not overweight, that are in good shape and exercise have lesser risk of being affected negatively, like significantly.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like these guys are just, I mean, peak physical condition, these athletes. So I think it'll be okay, but it just sucks. He got vaccinated and then here we go, but they're up 1-0, Josh, and have a real shot at going up 2-0 here. Paul George, no surprise, ownership is coming in through the roof. And then Devin Booker as well. Then you've got Cameron Payne. These are the three most obvious spots, right? George, because there's no Kawhi. Booker, because there's no Chris Paul. Let's not forget Chris Paul and really any true point guard, even a Ricky Rubio last year, massively limited Booker's ceiling because of that lack of assist upside and playing off the ball more. So it's a huge deal. And then, of course, Cameron Payne coming in without Chris Paul, despite his price point coming up a little bit. Some obvious spots here. I'd love to hear you break them down, how we work in the captain spot, the MVP spots here, and if there's anything we want to do different today, given how, again, obvious some of these plays are.
Yeah, I don't have much to really add on Paul George, Cam Payne, and Booker. Clearly, Paul George and Devin Booker are the two most likely plays to score a crap ton of points. I prefer Devin Booker just slightly to Paul George. I don't think that it matters all that much which direction you go. I do think Paul George is at least slightly under-owned at captain, but that's neither here nor there. I will touch on Cam Payne, who's pulling 12% ownership in the captain spot, 51% at the flex. I actually don't think he's getting enough ownership, just 6,200 on DK. That price is basically impossible to get away from. The only way that he really loses minutes is injury or foul trouble. He's part of one of my bets on the breakfast menu today, so check that out when that gets posted. But I'm all over Cam Payne today. I can't disagree with that ownership. You want two of those three guys in every single lineup that you're making. You're probably making it with all three more often than not. There's nothing wrong with that ownership. They are unequivocally the three best plays by a mile.
Okay. I don't think there's any denying that whatsoever. The question then becomes, once you get past Booker, Paul, and first of all, like what percent of lineups do you think have Booker or Paul, Booker, George, Booker, and Payne in them today?
I can give you the answer based on the ownership if we treat it like it's all a gap. 50%.
50%.
I mean, 48 is the actual number, but it didn't sound as cool if I just said 48.
50% is a decent amount when that's half of your lineup. So how many lineups do you want? Not do you want, but do you envision yourself having that don't have George, Booker, and Payne in some variation?
Another great question that I can answer with math.
Yep, that's all I ask.
I would have all three, roughly speaking, just on a baseline, about 40% of the time. So I think that's a little aggressive to have all three. I would be coming in a little lighter. I think you have two of those three in basically everything that you do.
I feel like it's not aggressive to have all three of them in everything. Not everything, but I can't help but look at this and okay, just through simple reasoning here, Cameron Payne would be the one guy that maybe you could make the argument that, okay, but then even so, I was going to say maybe, you could get away from him a little bit, but even so, it's really tough to do that when you're never going to get this type of value. Like this type of value does not exist most of the time. And it's so tough to get away from. I wanted to see something. I know he had 5 fouls, but were these spread out and they never really, he had 3 personal fouls. So he did leave the game. He would have played probably 34 minutes in this game.
Something like that.
So that's another significant thing to point out. And playing in the starting lineup probably isn't great for Cameron Payne, but he is a +1 per minute guy on the year. And it's not like they have any outside of Devin Booker, any really usage hogs outside of Booker. Sure, DeAndre Ayton can do some things, but like Bridges and Crowder, you're not really worried about that. So I'm not too concerned with Cameron Payne entering being in the starting lineup at any point if it's in place of Chris Paul. Now, if he was at the 2 along with Chris Paul and Booker they somehow went real small, I would hate that. But this to me, like Paul George without Kawhi, stud. He's gonna do. It's a game 2. They need to get this win. He's gonna jack up a ton of shots. He's gonna play 40+ minutes probably again. Devin Booker is gonna do everything. He played 44 minutes last game. Huge assist upside now. Maybe he doesn't get 13 rebounds, but he has double-digit rebounds in 4 of his last 6 games, which is incredible in its own right. I can't find anything, Josh. I know it's a long-winded way of saying I can't find anything to detract me from getting to any of these guys. I don't care about ownership at this point. It's just they're too good and too good of spots.
Paul George and Devin Booker are going to take on too much work, and Cameron Payne's price just doesn't reflect his role with this team. He's got a 25% usage rate in the postseason with no Chris Paul on the floor. Devin Booker's at 34.5. Everybody else is like 17 or below. DeAndre Ayton's under 14. Jay Crowder's at 12. Like the only people that are shooting aggressively are Devin Booker and Cam Payne. But Cam Payne's priced at 6,200 for reasons I don't understand.
Yeah. Are there going to be some dupes? Yeah, a lot. But the question now is, Like, I think this is the best way to do the show at this point. There's no point in going through every single player on every team. We could do that for live before live, getting into some of the cheaper options, and we'll do that right now. But it's really just trying to get an idea of what lineups are going to look like and what the best approach is here. George, Booker, and Payne is just too tough to get away from. So then that leads me to the next question, Josh. As you mentioned, I asked many good questions here. Those final three roster, that's what you said. These final three roster spots, just assuming that you got George, Booker, and Payne. If you want to do different things, sure. Maybe you have Ayton over Booker or whatever, but even that feels not great. Leaves you with, let's say on DraftKings with Paul George at the captain spot, 46.66 remaining per player, 3 utility spots. Where do we go from here?
I was hoping you were going to be a little bit more long-winded for that one. I'm about to run some crunches to see what actually shows up, but
okay. So when I say, go ahead.
I rambled long enough to get there. We're fine.
Oh, I like that. Having filler material and bullshit material in the DFS world, not like just making dumb stuff up, but being able to, bridge that gap. It's a real skill.
It really is. And now I'm going to say something that I don't like. I probably did actually. I don't want to say this out loud, but I guess I'm going to have to. My favorite flex play today, from a value perspective, since I'm going to have a lot of Paul George and Devin Booker, would be $2,600 Rondo, who is projected for 35% ownership. I have him in the optimal 46% of the time. I also would be very happy. Well, maybe not happy, but I would also be fine getting to $2,000 DeMarcus Cousins. I think Rondo and Boogie are the two best pay down value options that you can find today. I would like to wipe the vomit off of myself because no part of that is fun.
I don't have any issue at all with the DeMarcus Cousins value spot here. How can you? He might not play. He might not. He might not, but he might. And
thanks, man. Killer analysis there.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is actually strong analysis. Bear with me.
Okay.
There are some players that might not play, and it's the playoffs, condensed rotations. And if they do play, it's still a massive uphill battle to get them where they need to go. With DeMarcus Cousins, if he does play, he's a 1 1/3, 1.33 DraftKings point per minute player on the season. He's not afraid to shoot. He had 10 field goal attempts and he got to, and we had 3 free throw attempts in 13 minutes last game. He's a great rebounder. He can rack up stocks. He's a good passer. I don't anticipate him doing all of this like crazy in 10 to 15 minutes, but DeMarcus Cousins could play 9 minutes and have 20 fantasy points. You can't say that for a lot of other players that are this cheap. So yeah, I think when it comes to Cousins, is there risk there about playing time? No doubt about it. But if Cousins gets on the floor, you can pretty much lock it in that at that price, he's not going to be the reason your lineups are destroyed.
No, he played 13 and a half minutes in game one, minus 12 in that stretch, but he was doing scoring, which is funny. He was 4 of 10 from the field, but they were minus 12 in that time. They got destroyed. He sucks. He just sucks. He has no ability to move any longer. He has no athletic ability left. He's total, and nor should he. Look, he had some pretty rugged injuries. He's just not the same guy that he was. However, he's 2K, and at the very least, that dude's going to look for his own shot when he's out on the floor. So I like getting to Boogie. To me, he is pretty dramatically under-owned. We have under 20% on DraftKings right now. And then same sort of story for Rondo. Now that Kawhi is out, Rondo having the ball in his hands isn't as egregious than when Kawhi was in. You don't ever want to take it out of Kawhi's hand and Paul George's hands. But in this case now, you could have Rondo running some second units, getting people involved. At 2,600, I have him in the optimal almost 50% of the time. We're only projecting 35% ownership. So I think both of those guys are pretty significantly underowned at the bottom end in terms of value. Like, I don't really think Phoenix has those type of guys. Torrey Craig's 3,400, but you know what you're getting out of Torrey Craig. Dario Saric is 2,400. I don't get the sense that we see a lot of Saric barring Ayton foul trouble. Otherwise, you're going to guess on who that extra guy is for the Suns. Is it Eton Moore? Is it Langston Galloway? Is it Javon Carter? One of those three guys could be viable, but I'm not confident in even just picking between the Suns guys if you need to go that direction.
When you look at this last game, though, the whole bench was in the negative. Kennard -5, Rondo -14, Beverly -6, Zubac was actually +1, but yeah, it's hard to, like, Marcus Morris -11. So I don't know. And granted, Rondo and Cousins was -12 in 13 minutes. So that's a problem, right? But I don't know what the alternatives are for Ty Lue at this point. I'm with you. Playing DeMarcus Cousins is a massive risk. Just you can't deny that.
Yeah.
But what are the other spots that you go to here? You talk about Rondo. You talk about DeMarcus Cousins. Are there any other spots that are in any way going to make sense here?
I don't think so. At least not from the Clippers side of it. And like I said, the Sun side is more of a coin flip. Everything else that I'm liking, like on the Phoenix side, are the mid-price guys, the Aytons, Ayton's not really mid-price, the Bridges, the Crowders, the Cam Johnsons, even on the Clippers side, the Terrence Manns, the Batums, the Zubac's. That's the area where you got to get kind of creative. The pay down options to me are only Rondo and Cousins.
How about Eton Moore?
It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't play a second and they went to Javon Carter or Langston Galloway now. I think that last spot of the Suns rotation is fully up in the air. They went to Eton Moore first, but I don't necessarily think that has to happen again in game 2. I expect more changes from the Clippers side of this game than from the Suns side, since the Suns won. That's why I think it's possible that we see either, like, the health of Marcus Morris's knee is very important here, but I think that we can see more Zubac in place of Cousins. So Zubac would be the guy that I'm a little bit more interested in. We only have him projected for 12% ownership. He was good enough in that first run, but I think they'd rather take their chances on Zubac than running out Cousins to be -13 again.
So no Torrey Craig. If you think Moore doesn't play and Chris Paul is out, I'm sticking with this for a second, just because I think when you have a key player that's out, like Chris Paul, we have to at least kind of dissect what the rotation looks like and how those voided minutes are going to open up. Because Cameron Payne was already getting backup minutes. He's not just coming into the rotation and soaking up all of George's minutes. So, there's those minutes, and then you're going to have those additional backup minutes. If they go to one of these guys that actually, like Torrey Craig, I don't know. Do you think he has backup point guard minutes?
No, 100% impossible.
Oh, I thought you were saying that. Okay. That's what surprise. I thought you were saying that he plays. Okay. Got you.
No.
Who do we see get the bulk of minutes in place of Payne? Is it mostly just stagger Booker and then get guys like Cam Johnson out there and Craig and such and put Booker at the 1, right?
I think so. Eton Moore's minutes from the first game can go to himself, Langston Galloway, Javon Carter. And I think the situation of the game is going to dictate who that's going to be. If the Clippers get behind a little bit, I think you could see Langston Galloway get out there. If they're ahead, I think that Javon Carter could end up out there. That one, to me, can go any direction. But it was Eton Moore in game 1. I think just one of those three guys is going to play about 10 minutes today.
Okay. So we've broken down and we got over 100 likes. So appreciate all you guys. I know these are some slower shows when we're doing the showdown slates, only one game, but appreciate everyone hanging out with us for sure and hitting that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. The big thing here is like George, Booker, Payne. No doubt about that. Then you get into Cousins and Rondo. And like, I think Torrey Craig is fine today, but the ownership we have on him and guys like Cousins and Zubac, it's funny because none of these super cheap value guys are pulling a ton of ownership, which makes it even more interesting to me, Josh. You can get probably a little bit different by doing something down there. You look at the ownership on a lot of these cheap options like Zubac and Cousins and Craig. Craig's a little bit higher, but some of these are really low.
It surprises me. Like, I think Craig's ownership is like spot on. We have it at 21. That's exactly where I had him coming out of my sim. But I think Cousins is low if you think he plays. If you don't think he plays, then you have to think that Zubac's minutes are low, given Marcus Morris's health right now. You can get Langston Galloway and Javon Carter at essentially nothing, like literally essentially no ownership. That to me is very interesting. Whether or not you want to go that way or not is up to you. Cam Johnson probably over-owned. Well, maybe not over-owned. Cam Johnson is overpriced right now, and that's going to keep his ownership down. He's 5,400. That's, to me, kind of crazy. Like Terrence Mann, 6,400, if we want to just compare the two. There is value to be had. I think it's more in the mid-tier. I think Mikal Bridges is pretty significantly underowned. I think Jay Crowder is underowned. I've already mentioned Cousins as the pay down option. I'm just working my way down my list of underowned guys. I actually think Reggie Jackson, that's a name that we haven't said yet. He's 8,600 on DK. We have him projected for 37% ownership and 5% ownership in the captain. I have him 12% of the time as the optimal captain today.
Wow.
He's playing monstrous minutes.
Almost 2.5 times. Wow.
Yeah. It would be my favorite captain play in a large field GPP. He's playing differently. He's the second banana now on this Clippers offense. He's handling the ball a ton. He's become significantly more efficient than he was in the previous Reggie Jackson iterations of life. I don't mind 8,600 at all because I think he's stepping into that second creator role as Paul George steps into that Kawhi Leonard role. 8,600, not a problematic price tag to me.
Last guy I want to talk to you about is Marcus Morris. He's seen limited minutes dealing with that knee. Price is up there a little bit, and you'd agree. I mean, he's one of the most unpredictable players out there. Very like super volatile production from Marcus Morris. But I just keep coming back to the fact that it's a must-win game. It's a game too. If he's playing well out of the gate, does he keep playing? He's not listed on the injury report. But more than anything, the only players we have projected for less ownership than Marcus Morris, a guy who before his last two games dealing with what is presumably the reason he hasn't played as much in that knee, played 40 minutes in game 5 against Utah as a starter. He's projected for 11% ownership. The only guys with less than that are Patrick Beverley, Frank Kaminsky, and Javon Carter. So is there any merit to saying, you know what, he's a starter. We've seen him play 38 plus minutes in these games. I'm willing to at least take some shots on Marcus Morris, or are you on the other side saying he's too expensive? I don't trust the minutes right now.
I think he's too expensive, and I don't trust the minutes. I think the ownership is spot on. We've got him at 11%. He came out of my sim at 10%. He had to not come out to start the third quarter. So he obviously started the game, did not start the third quarter. They went to Zubac instead of Morris in that spot. And I think that is very interesting when you look at the ownership and you see that both Zubac and Morris have the same ownership, but Zubac is 4,600 and Morris is 7K. Morris needed to get treatment at halftime and all the way into the third quarter, barely played at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, and then didn't see the floor again.
I know.
If he is compromised in any way, if they're going to Zubac at the beginning of the third quarter, is there any reason we should suspect that that's not the path that they take if Morris can't be out there? Because to me, the answer is no. I would much rather go to the equally owned Ivica Zubac and save $2,400 than go to Marcus Morris.
You're absolutely right. Like there's no doubt about it. And this is one of the examples of, as you talk through that, like low ownership and contrarianism doesn't always mean smart play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because a lot of people would look at that. And that's why when I present a question, I'm trying to give you both sides of this, because a lot of times you could make the argument like, no, he is too low owned. There's volatility here. There's uncertainty, but sometimes that breeds opportunity. In a spot like this, the opportunity probably more so lies in Ivica Zubac than it does in Marcus Morris. And you laid that out well. So yeah, there's Zubac actually played pretty well last game too off the bench. 18 minutes is strong enough. If you got even 18, 20 minutes from someone who's right around a fantasy point per minute producer, you'll take that all day long. And then it opens it up. The only thing too is like when I'm building a lineup, just having some fun with this, Jordan. And if you want to put it on the screen, this could be a fun way to close out the show. If not, it's cool. If you go George captain, and we're just doing DraftKings for the sake of, fluid, keeping this fluid. You go George at captain, Booker, Payne, Cousins, Zubac. Now, are you willing to have Cousins and Zubac in the same lineup?
I think so. Based on those prices, I don't think that it's a gigantic issue.
And both of them are good enough per minute, guys, that's less of a concern because Cousins could play 11 minutes and still give you 20 or something, you know?
I'll say this much. You only want 2 of 3 for Morris, Cousins, and Zubac.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Then you're just cannibalizing each other. The reason I ask you, though, is because even if you were to take Cousins out and throw Rondo in, and you also have Zubac, okay? Maybe we'll be a little bit more practical here. You run into, like, I don't want to say a dead spot, but you're not getting the Ayton. You're not getting the Reggie Jackson. You're basically left with Terrence Mann, Cam Johnson, like Beverly. There's just not a lot there. So I keep running into the same issues with some of these lineups. Like Terrence Mann's probably your option there. But my point is with George, Booker, and Payne as your 1, 2, and 3, which we're going to see a lot of, even when you go with that value and say you throw Zubac in there, you keep coming up kind of empty unless you go Rajon Rondo and DeMarcus Cousins. And that's when everything opens up.
Well, I'll hit you with 2 different things. My optimal right now is George captain, Booker, Ayton, Payne, Rondo, Cousins.
So that's right. And that's what I'm like. That unlocks that final piece.
But you can, if you want Zubac to be in there, get out of Cousins. Let's say we think Cousins is going to be out of that lineup. We keep that Rondo piece. But here's the difference. Cam Payne at captain, 9,300, gives you Paul George, Booker, DeAndre Ayton as well. So you pay down at the captain spot, you get George, you get Booker, you get Ayton, then you get the Zubac Rondo combo, and you save the salary by going to Payne at the captain spot.
So that's an interesting point. There are ways to be a little bit different tonight. I mean, this is kind of a fun showdown slate because there's guys that might get minutes and might not, but they actually have a shot at getting minutes because whereas with other teams, you just know certain bench players aren't getting minutes no matter what. Like it's just not happening. Yeah. Right. In this one, it's a little bit different. And I'm kind of excited about that. So
by the way, remember I mentioned Reggie Jackson being my favorite, like large field GPP captain, just in case anybody wants it. This lineup leaves 1,100 on the table. This is my top Reggie Jackson captain lineup. Reggie Jackson, a captain, obviously. Paul George, Devin Booker, Cam Payne, Torrey Craig, and Rondo.
So Craig is in there. Rondo's in there. Okay.
That is my optimal with Reggie Jackson at captain.
Read it one more time.
Reggie Jackson, captain. Paul George, Devin Booker, Cam Payne, Torrey Craig, Rondo.
Okay. So you've got the 3 highest owned, but then Reggie Jackson at captain. I mean, I can't imagine that's going to be a hugely popular lineup.
No, I wouldn't expect that either. Given what Reggie Jackson's captain ownership is, you're thinning the herd out pretty quickly just from that move.
No doubt. Jordan, do we have a Hall of Fame segment today? No, we don't have one today. Okay, just wanted to make
barely any sports yesterday.
That's right. Well, there was golf. I didn't know if golf or like NASCAR over the weekend or something like that. So, remember all these shows available in podcast form if you want to check it out. Always love doing this show with you guys. And if you want to join Awesemo outside of just YouTube, you want to keep watching for free, no sweat. I mean, that's why we do these shows. We want to give you good free content every day. But if you want to get access to all the tools that we talk about, the ownership, the player projections, the top stack tool, the boom bust tool, top pitchers, top fighters, top golfers, top drivers tools, ownership for all of those sports. If they have contests on these sites, we have content for them. We have tools all built by the #1 ranked DFS player, Awesemo himself, and used by him to win a ton of money. I don't really need to say anything outside of that. I mean, dude's won a ton of money doing it, and so have a ton of people that have used these tools. You see him rocking the Awesemo avatar up there every day. And we have premium Slack chat. We have the office hours in Slack chat where you have the pros from Awesemo answering your questions, helping you refine your game and fix those holes. And look, there's just a lot of reasons to come join us. So if you want to, go to awesemo.com/join. And if you want to get 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum, everything on the site, every sport, use the promo code NBA Strategy Show, all one word, all caps. But the biggest thing, Josh, I think, is when you're doing the monthly or you're doing the annual, you want to make a real investment, whether it's one sport or all sport. The Fantasy Cruncher add-on option is huge because that kind of unlocks so much more on top of the tools that we already have.
I wasn't listening at all to anything that you were saying. I was
The
in
fantasy
chat.
crunch. Well, this is important for the fantasy cruncher add-on is so huge because it unlocks everything that on top. It unlocks everything in like the full capability of the tools that we already have on the site.
It's to be able to like exactly what we just did. Oh, Reggie Jackson at captain. Here's the projection. Here's what the optimal looks like. Getting to put all those pieces together and see how everything moves around and see what it see how that opens up is massive to me on a showdown, because you're only looking at that one individual game. So you need to make comparisons in each sort of level. Are you willing to give up a couple points of median projection to pick up significantly more unique value for your lineup? Fantasy Cruncher allows you to do that pretty easily in a very good visual experience. And to me, that's massive.
No doubt. Let's close the show out with this. And remember, Breakfast Menu, which is our first betting show, with Josh and Ben Rasa. Contenders is out there. We got a lot of content throughout the day, so don't go anywhere. And of course, in a minute, the MLB strategy show is coming up next. They're going to talk about a lot of guys that I have yet to hear of. Josh, let's close out the show with a comment from Quinn M. He says, Laffy and Josh, I can't tell is that an avatar of a girl, female? Here, they say, Josh, Laffy, Jordan, I have to tell you guys, life is hard for me right now. My depression is at a high. And these shows have kept my mind busy during the days. Much, much appreciation for you all. Well, I love seeing that stuff. I mean it. I absolutely love it. And glad we can be of a little bit of help, even though I don't really think we're doing much.
Quinn, by the way, a she. So great work there, Laffy.
But how was I supposed to know that? Well, no, now that she told
I would have went with the female picture as the avatar. That was just my opinion.
Come on. How many that doesn't say much these days when you're in chat and people just throw random avatars up there, you know? But
sure.
Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate you. She is a she, and appreciate you watching the show.
For real though. We're glad you're watching, honestly.
Yeah. I was a drug and alcohol therapist, counselor for like 6.5 years. And that's some hard hitting shit. I actually had somebody run into my brother the other day and say like, hey, your brother helped save my life. That was great. But then I also was on Facebook the other day and saw that one girl that was my client, mind you, I worked with adolescents from like 15 to 18, was missing in Kensington for the last 3 years and is presumed murdered. So like, I had a lot of clients that were kids that died, they got shot, that OD'd, that, disappeared in the streets of Kensington, and others that are massive success stories. So it's a totally different gig going from that to this. But if my job now is outside of, trying to provide good information and host a good show, and for you to analyze a slate and give out good information, if some of that comes down to maybe providing a little bit of entertainment and a respite from the everyday, nonsense of life, I'm here for it. And I'm glad it does something.
Yeah, it would not be fun for me or for anybody else if we were just like monotone reading our thoughts. So yeah,
not fun.
Whether you're here for DFS advice or sports betting advice or just to hang out for a little bit, like whatever gets you there, I'm cool with. I don't need it to be the specific goal of playing captain mode DFS tonight for the one game. Like, I'm just happy to talk and crack jokes. And if that lightens somebody's load for the day, even better. Yep.
No doubt about it. That cicada almost lightened my load the other day. Let me tell you. And if you want some more of this outside of YouTube, hit us up on Twitter at Josh Engleman, at Laffy_D. Our handles are right there. I'm always happy to respond and go back and forth and make some fun out of it all. Follow Awesemo at Awesemo_com. Jordan, what's your Twitter handle? You're a nice guy. You produce a good show. All right. Too late. What is it? Jordan D. Klein. Hit up our producer extraordinaire, Jordan Klein, as well. We'll see you guys back here soon. Thanks for watching. Josh and I'll be back on the Live Before Lock show tonight together, running this one back throughout the week. We'll see you soon. Hit that thumbs up on your way out the door. Peace.